Mukama ogw'okuganja akkiriza okuzimba ku nnyumba kale muguno zimba.
Our star today is Pastor Wilson Bugambe, who grew up in some of the worst conditions a person can go through. During his early years, the young Bugambe lived through unfortunate trials and temptations. This include the loss of his two parents, death of his siblings, and untold suffering for over 4 years as a street child. After the death of his parents and siblings, Bugambe faced life all alone. He was mistreated by those that had earlier on promised to help him. With no shoes, one yellow shirt and a pair of shorts, Bugambe left home and decided to face the world alone. As of today, Pastor Wilson Bugambe is one of the best gospel artists in East Africa.
If you want to stand in 2016, then you should begin working on these things first.
The presidential pledge.
Eastern lawmakers pile pressure on Museveni to fulfill election promises.
Welcome to NTV Tonight. As regional security remains tense following yesterday's Garissa church attacks that claimed the lives of 17 people and injured scores more. Tonight, find out what the Kenyan Prime Minister had to say as he visited Garissa.
And back home, we assess security and the fight against terrorism at places of worship here in Uganda.
Plus, as the International Criminal Court marks 10 years of work here in Uganda, we will be seeking your views on its functions on our NTV poll.
Good evening and a warm welcome to Monday's NTV Tonight. Let's now take a look at the rest of the headlines. Taking stock 10 years on, the International Criminal Court draws both praise and criticism.
Controversy as a trader is killed, 2 others injured at a roadblock in Bukadia.
Police in renewed terror alert. Security warns religious leaders to step up security at places of worship. A very good evening and thank you for joining us here on NTV Tonight. I am Faith Ariho.
And I'm Gabriel Epenu. Welcome to the program. Tonight, lawmakers from eastern Uganda are up in arms condemning President Yoweri Museveni for the alleged unfulfilled pledges to the people of eastern Uganda.
In a meeting called by Vice Chairman of NRM Eastern Region Captain Mike Mukula at Parliament, attended by different shades of opinion, the MPs want the President to explain what they are termed as empty promises to the people of the Eastern region.
Jingo Francis opens tonight's newscast with that.
The legislators met to look at their share of the 2012-2013 national budget and to analyze the unfulfilled pledges that the President has made way back in 1986. The meeting held at Parliament comprised of members from Teso sub-region, Busoga, Bugisu, Bukedi and Sebei. They claimed that the President's promises towards the construction of roads in eastern Uganda, the provision of water services, schools, hospitals and food processing factories have been outstanding for decades, and when it's election time, the President brings up such issues as a campaigning tool for the votes.
I think it's enough. If the President is not in a position to deliver some of these pledges, let him not say it. We come across and it is too heavy for us. Now for me, when I say this, they will call me a rebempi. But I think I am ready to be called a reverend.
Tell him, look, Mr. King, you are naked. In fact, you would have done a noble duty by telling the king he's naked. Instead of you massaging the king, saying, King, you are everything that you are saying is amusing to us. And yet, in actual sense, the king is naked. Otherwise, you are in a sinking boat, and that boat is for sure sink with you if you continue that way. He is not basing his programs on NRM manifesto. And we are saying, he should not even, if you want to stand in 2016, then you should begin working on these things first, so that we begin negotiating about the other information.
They are concerned that the current budget has not addressed their needs, even when they have been consistent in voting for NRM party.
So in among us who want to pretend to be believers without complaints, then I think we're not going to deserve an attention. It's time now that we need to remind the Redeemer that look, the ones you came to redeem are not yet redeemed.
He has been coming to vote. This time I'm going to give you the road. We vote for him. And I want to inform you that the biggest region that votes for His Excellency will not disturb us and will not bribe us, Eastern region. Let us be serious. Let us not be used. Let us tell the president, if you're not giving us this, and let us not beg. He either gives us or he doesn't come to December 2016. That is period. And then we get what we want, but we are tired of being used like no things.
There is no cause for the honorable members of parliament to worry, because like our people say, a promise is a deed, a pledge is a deed, and it can never and will never rot, so it will be fulfilled. They know that sometimes there are budgetary constraints.
However, the State Minister for Lands and Women MP for Tororo District, the only minister who attended the meeting, Sarah Achengo Pendi, questioned Mukula's ambitions.
I will be open with you. This is what they told me. They are thinking of your other ambitions.
No.
And they were thinking this is why you are calling this meeting.
The issues of our own internal matters of a party, NRM, will be managed at an appropriate time when we cross the bridge. We haven't crossed the bridge yet. And I want to assure you, we are building a very strong working team that will be able to deliver to the people of Eastern and the people of Uganda.
The lawmakers resolved to form sub-regional committees to compile all unfulfilled promises before they can schedule a meeting with the president himself to raise their concerns. Jingo Francis, NTV Parliament.
Now, it is 10 years since the International Criminal Court began work in Uganda, and today a public dialogue has been held by the Uganda Coalition to reflect and discuss the achievements and challenges of the ICC a decade on. As delegates, including experts and members of the public, assessed the ICC's progress in Uganda, opinions were mixed. On the one hand, it was argued that the ICC has taken huge strides in the fight for democracy. However, others raised concern at what they deemed as an unfair focus on African leaders who commit crime with impunity. 10 years on, though, the ICC has turned into a major international institution, securing justice for victims when it cannot be delivered at the national level. Maurice Ochol reports.
National Criminal Court came into being on the 1st of July 2002, with Uganda being one of the first countries that ratified the statute as it referred the Lord's Resistance Army to the courts back in 2003. 10 years down the road, where many are still questioning whether or not Uganda really deserved to be part of it and as to whether it has performed its task to date. Professor Christopher Mbazira argues that to a large extent, the country has benefited from the ICC.
Has played a very important role in bringing peace to northern Uganda. We know that the moment the warrants of arrest were issued against Joseph Kony and his men, they started to panic and somehow were forced to come to the negotiating table. He has also pushed Uganda to establish domestic processes and institutions and laws for the prosecution of international crime. For instance, the domestication of the Rome Statute by the adoption of the International Criminal Court Act, that's unprecedented. When you look at the international...
Some legal experts that attended the dialogue noted that indeed ICC has attempted to make vast progress in the world and the country in particular.
There has been an increased capacity and a willingness to promote accountability through legal processes or way of addressing some of these atrocities and violations.
But others argued vehemently that the ICC intentions are not what they seem, and it has fueled all its strength towards specifically targeting African leaders who commit impunity.
Many African countries have used the ICC to mask their domestic inadequacy. In fact, it has been argued that the Uganda government referred the LRA to the ICC to cover up its own atrocities in northern Uganda.
The ICC is working in 7 situation countries and monitoring developments in 7 other several continents, turning the principles of the Rome Statute into reality. Maurice Ochol, NTV.
Well, it is on this issue that we would like to hear from you on tonight's NTV poll. So we are asking, do you think the ICC's involvement in Uganda over the last 10 years has had an impact? Do you think the ICC's involvement in Uganda over the last decade has had any impact?
We'll also have your say text 8778 followed by yes and no, as well as your name and where you're texting from, and we shall be reading some of your comments during tonight's newscast and as well as bringing you the final poll result for tonight. Well, moving on, police in Bukadia have shot dead a 35-year-old businessman and injured 2 other suspected smugglers while on a routine patrol in Chidongole sub-county in Bukadia district. The dead man was identified by police as Rajab Kasuja, but known locally as Rajab Wambale. His colleagues Asman Muyole and an identified driver are still nursing their wounds after sustaining injuries in the police shootout. Craig Kadoda reports.
Friends, relatives and well-wishers gathered to mourn Rajab's death. Rajab and his colleagues were traveling in a saloon car, registration number UAM 416, when police fired shots at them. It's alleged that the occupants of this car did not stop when police stopped them in the wee hours of Saturday morning between 2 and 3 as they headed to Gulu. One of the occupants narrates the ordeal.
Tusanga abasajja nga bataddewo akapande tewalina musikale n'omu netuyimirira wetwayimiride netugamba balabika baazibye ekkubo netuteekamu luvansi tudde emabega okudda emabega abasajja batandise kukuba amasasi mu mbirizi mu maaso driver n'agamba kati nkoze ne mugamba eyimirira twetaase.
However, police say the occupants of the car started firing at the police after they were signaled to stop.
The vehicle was coming, speeding. We ignored it to stop. The occupant refused to stop and opened fire. They shot at our police officers. Fortunately, no one was injured. So during the exchange of fire, one gentleman called Rajab Kasuja, approximately 35 years, a resident of Namanyoni in Mbalo, not Gulu, was the known smuggler. He was shot dead.
Police claim that the 3 men are known smugglers and were using an alternative route to smuggle goods into Gulu. The MP for Busia municipality, Kevin Taka, and other residents condemned the police's shooting that resulted into Rajab's death.
They would have shot the tires of the car and not the people, but they were shooting on the meat. Yeah? They were shooting on the head. They were aiming at the head. They were aiming at the heart.
Tusaba government ebange tunamu bantu our police nokwa tekafunamu elengeje batraininga monge yo handling mu abantu.
They want the police chief, General Kalekehura, to take action against the officers involved. Investigations into what happened are still ongoing.
Following yesterday's twin church attacks in Garissa in neighboring Kenya, police in Uganda have renewed their call for religious leaders to step up security at their places of worship. According to the police, churchgoers and the Muslim community are increasingly vulnerable to terror attacks. In Uganda, threats to attack places of worship emerged towards the end of 2011, and since then, police have been attempting to establish a coherent security plan. As Frank Walusimbi reports, in order to effect the plan, there is need for a closer working relationship with faith leaders.
According to the Counter-Terrorism Directorate, There is a notable laxity in security, not just at entertainment venues, but in churches and mosques as well. Earlier this year, a meeting was held between police and faith leaders with regard to this issue, but many of the resolutions have not been met.
I actually communicated to some of the church leaders, one of them being Dr. Joseph Serwada, who is a
Dr. Joseph Serwada, who is the presiding apostle of the Born Again Faith Federation, acknowledges that faith leaders have been reluctant, but the awareness campaign is continuing.
Anything can happen, whether it's in Bali or Mbarara or someplace. It can happen anywhere. We just alert our churches that we are prime target #1 because we collect a lot of people.
Which means they should have two things: security plans for their churches, emergency management plans for their churches, just in case something happens.
A few churches, mostly in Kampala, are adhering to police caution, that is, to see security personnel employed on Sunday and other congregating days. But many churches remain without any security measure.
The expense is nowhere compared to what trouble you'd go through if people died in your church or in your crusade or in your meeting. There's no comparison whatsoever.
It appears the police might have to announce again what kind of security arrangement is appropriate for public places, because many have far and away ignored the terrorism threat.
Meanwhile, across the border, Kenyan Prime Minister Raila Odinga has ruled out pulling Kenyan troops from Somalia. Raila was today speaking in Garissa town, the epicenter of two simultaneous attacks on two churches. 17 people were killed and over 60 injured after masked gunmen hurled grenades and fired at worshippers attending Sunday prayers at the African Inland Church and Our Lady of Carmelita Catholic Church in Garissa. Maurice Mugisha reports from Nairobi.
However, Raila, addressing Muslim and Christian religious leaders in Garissa today, said Kenyan forces would only leave Somalia when it has been pacified.
Know that our troops are there, they are putting their lives on the line on a daily basis. And all that they need is that this country stand united behind them.
At the meeting, also attended by Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and Acting Security Minister Mohamed Yusuf, Raila tasked the Provincial Commissioner's Office to find a lasting solution to the frequent terror attacks on the churches in the area. Muslim leaders at the meeting condemned the incident, saying it had nothing to do with religion but an act of terrorism.
The inference is that Muslims are attacking Christians so that Christians can begin to fight with Muslims. But we are much more intelligent than that.
The war on terror cannot only be won by government, it will be won by all of us.
What I want to assure Kenyans is that we are doing all we can to make sure that we do provide security to them.
The government has termed the latest attacks as cowardly, aimed at instilling fear and despondency, but added that Kenyans would not be intimidated. A day after yesterday's heinous simultaneous attacks in northeastern Kenya, police is once again in the spotlight over its preparedness. This coming a week after the coastal city of Mombasa was also attacked in a similar incident. Now, police is insisting investigations are ongoing and the perpetrators of yesterday's crime will be brought to book. Maurice Mugisha, NTV.
Maurice Mugisha there reporting from Nairobi in Kenya. We will go for a short break right now, but here's what you can expect when we return.
Never a man. The cost of the nodding disease syndrome.
And in living life this week, Emmanuel Chitaka, border cyclist by day, musician by night. Ntv Tonight continues after the short break. See you shortly.
Ntv.
Sally, also known as Bebe Cool, Munene Big Size, the Bogolako superstar, also popularly known as East Africa's Mr. Showbiz, is a reggae musician who was born on 1st September 1977 to a popular politician, Jabeli Bidandi Sally.
Big size extra large. Kanyini music Uganda pay for namira happy uliriza echimfunde songa mu Uganda webula mu bange no buyimba bwenkuba.
He started his music career in the mid-90s while at Chitante High School, where he was an entertainment prefect together with Rudeboy Devo and Luther T. Like many other Ugandan musicians, Bebe Cool went to Nairobi, Kenya in 1997, where he started to make his name as a prolific musician, together with Red Sun and Chameleon.
I'm on a handle, no matter what kind of trouble. I'm on a handle, real man should handle.
Bebe Cool was one of the first artists affiliated with Ogopa DJs, a production house and record label in Kenya, but a few years later he moved back to Uganda. Bebe Cool, who sings in Luganda, English and Swahili, has done a number of songs with multiples of collaborations with artists like Bobby Wine, Kid Fox aka King Steven,
Welcome back. We start with a reminder of our NTV poll question for tonight and some of your responses. Tonight we asked, do you think the ICC's involvement in Uganda over the last 10 years has had any impact? I'll say that again. Do you think the ICC's involvement in Uganda over the last decade has had any impact at all?
To have your say, text 8778, then yes or no, and followed by your name and where you are texting from. Let's now take a look at some of your comments so far.
Okay, on VT Joel Joe, you say it has had no impact whatsoever because they target only rebels, leaving other culprits like the corrupt in government untouched.
And someone here says, no, ICC has done nothing, not only in Uganda, but also to Africa.
Okay, here is how our tentative poll result stands so far. 63% of our respondents are saying yes, while 63% of our respondents are saying no. The ICC has had no impact at all in the country, while 37% are saying yes.
Well, stay tuned as we shall be bringing you more comments and tonight's final poll result at the tail end of tonight's newscast.
Indeed. Moving on, it is bad enough that nodding disease doesn't have a cure, no definite known cause, but when it denies a man of his manhood, then it is a different story altogether.
Nodding syndrome has turned a section of some men in the northern parts of Uganda into vegetables, stripping them of a chance to be all that a man can be.
We bring you the story of an 18-year-old boy in Pade district from northern Uganda who stopped growing at the age of 6 when he started exhibiting signs of abhorred nodding syndrome.
Nearly staggering, drooling, and looking like he's searching for something is a daily routine for 18-year-old Richard Adonga. Unhurried and with pain, he sits down and he has to hold on to these seats for support. Not a minute passes and he lies down. His back is developing a hump and his spine is getting affected. At 18 years of age, most children in Uganda are nearly ready to join university. Adonga has never seen the inside of a classroom. He has been grounded at home, not because he's being punished for being a naughty boy, but because of a disease that continues to perplex doctors. Meaningful life stopped at 6 years of age when Adonga got the nodding syndrome, a disease which has no definite known cause, no cure. And a year later, His mother ceased to exist, not from the face of the earth, but from his life.
Their mother is far from here. They are at Kirugum, a place called where? Akwang sub-county.
Can she ever visit her child?
No. She is there at another husband.
Adonga always sweats profusely, despite not knowing how a hoe, a slasher, an axe, or other working gadgets operate. He has never known and will never know the joys or hardships of working like a man. As an elder brother in the family of 2 boys, Richard Adonga was never to act out this role to his younger brother Kidega. Back then, at just the age of 1, little did Kidega know that he was to become the man in the family before developing into a teenager. Kidega is 13 years old now. Their father has never cared. Some people who used to collect Adonga's medicine to help slow the symptoms of nodding syndrome gave up because of the long distance to health centers. We head out to Adonga's home. In this corner, he sleeps on a cold mud-made floor shared by him, his father and younger brother.
Neighbors who are far away have told us that the father sometimes takes a week minus staying in this house. The boys are on their own.
The father already drinks, almost taking his time for drinking, but not caring for this young kid.
There is only so much that Kidega can do for his older helpless brother. This unsightly cassava serves as breakfast, lunch and dinner. And the fire, Adonga's enemy in case we are to have a convulsion, waits, still lit within. These youths are his age mates, with whom he used to play before turning 6. It is apparent that for as long as no cure for nodding syndrome is found, Adonga will never enjoy his sexuality. No courage to face fear like a man, no strength to fight off unwanted invaders, and no wife to call him husband. Florence Nalimba, NTV.
The unfortunate plight of an 18-year-old boy with nodding disease. Now let's take a look at more stories making the news across Uganda tonight.
Taxi drivers in Jinja and veterans are fighting over the control of a stage in the town have handed over its management to the veterans. However, the drivers at Kampala Caltex stage claim they have up to 30 taxis in their association and are not ready to deal with the veterans.
badereva be balina okukola emirimu gyabwe kuba bannannyini bisaanizo n'omukulembeze w'eggwanga yennyini yakyogera kaati gyoli abalamu wano nga tumunoonyeza akalulu eraga nti buli muntu abeere mu mulimu gwe ffe tuli mu gwaffe tuli bakakafu nnyo ng'omuntu yenna anajja ayagala tayagala abo kuba kufa naye tufa naye.
However, the veterans argue that they need to take over the management of the stage because of security, citing threats posed by the Al-Shabaab.
Politely tusaba abekikwatako batuddize stage okusingira ddala town clerk ow'Ejjinja.
Meanwhile, a suspected shoplifter was severely beaten today along Main Street in Jinja Town after he was found in possession of stolen phones from a shop, Luku Mobile Tech. The shop owner, only identified as Muhammad, said he had left his shop briefly to buy a wire and returned only to find the suspect. After conducting a further search, the suspect was found with 8 phones. Muhammad then raised an alarm. Traders along the main street say that they have given up on police's response and resort to mete out their own form of justice. Now, the music industry in Uganda has created millionaires of many young men who just a decade ago were ordinary folks trying to make it in life. And that success has attracted thousands of young people to try their hand in the music scene, although many of them haven't yet hit it big. Emmanuel Chitaka, as one such young man with ambitions of hitting the big stages, he works as a border cyclist during the day, but passionately pursues his dream of succeeding in music in the evenings. Chris Chameleon brings us Emmanuel's experience in this week's Living Life.
Bicycle taxis are a common feature on most crowded streets of Kampala,
and Emmanuel Kitaka is one of the famous riders who plies his trade along a city suburb known as Mulago Kubiri. The 27-year-old man has been at this job for 1.5 years after dropping out of Senior 4 due to his parents' failure to pay his school fees. But his situation hasn't dampened his resolve to make it in life. He maneuvers his way through this busy traffic daily for a fee that enables him to fend for himself. His cheerful demeanor has endeared him to many passengers and residents around his area. Emmanuel's job is, however, beset with the constant risk of getting knocked by the numerous speeding vehicles around his area of operation.
Nobenanga listed day omwana wa digi na veli kaze inasoka jireta saketi ngaita kubala muna kabuntu tina wewe nonya mwana rubo kuyitako na kuchikirawo ate wo mukola kaka sobi boya yagala kuvayo na kulwana na ziri abana ba taxi abo bola bakazeyi nenga bomanyi era tubayitamu ngaba bine tuwenja ntusobola okubera nakawogo omwana nafu musawo za fekazeyo kitegera yo man kitegera naye waji kitegeza ki waji mwana ye bicycle eyo kazeyi A
close inspection of Emmanuel's bike reveals writings that are quite telling of his passion for music. He is popularly known here as Elephant Man, a name his friends gave him because of his love for the Jamaican dancehall musician. The popular Western culture of hip-hop music is something that has caught on among many young people in this country, and Emmanuel Kitaka is no exception. He carries passengers for a living during the day and turns to his rap music at night. Emmanuel invited me to his home, just a few meters from his workstage, where I met his grandmother, who raised him right from childhood after his mother abandoned him. The energetic man opened up to me and spoke at length about his favorite pastime.
Music chiringe miaka katika gainti miaka 15 ngakuba music yoyo. Namukubanga mu school, namukuba mu ground za street, mpaka lwenvudeyo yanga big boys. Nenda bikanga ndaga noche yomba people bonna. Naye abantu bakumatira. Abantu mwana bakola mu bukonyi kazeyi bapisinga bupisinzi bambuza nabubuza mwana ngate tukulaba nembagamba mwana nyongera bongezo kulaba ngateka mu amanyera ngabo manyi kazeyi mwana naye obuyambi okitegera boy wange osobola kutusamplinga muziki sobola ba samplinga tandika. So now the bad boy, the cool nigga, what a one, yo, my elephant man, pop up the ghetto, yo, man, yo. Tulizifuna, yeah. Tulizifuna, yeah. Tulizifuna, tusonye mbele mwenyewe, kwa ghetto, piti demo street za stezo, kuria mu street, sinkanye bagai, bali mukaga, nebu sekise mukaga, bali ya murapu, chiyaye ntidena nyo, tandise kuria murap, uliriza zrap, ezufude mubarapa, what a one, black.
After giving me a sneak peek into his composition, he heads back to work to make more money to support his grandmother and daughter. It's apparent that passengers here like him as they constantly approach him to take them to their destinations. Emmanuel walks with his head high along the streets despite the difficult circumstances he is in. He exudes pride in doing a job that many youngsters with his level of education look down upon. And just as we parted ways, I asked him to sing his favorite song, which he gladly did.
Do you know me, the bad boy, they call me, I'm a look the baby girl, I'm a ching my love, yo man. I'm gonna get to you the big up yo, baby girl, to live carry us and say baby girl, baby girl, yeah baby girl, can you look the black boys you with smoke at the breeze and the cigarette baby man, can you look you me? I'm a cool yo man, I'm a big up yo man. Yeah man.
Chris Ochamringa, NTV.
Of the cyclist and musician there for you Emmanuel Chitaka. Thank you, Chris Ochamringa. Well, it's time for Business Now, NTV Business. Malcolm Musime is standing by with just that. Good evening, Malcolm.
Hi.
Hello.
Good. Anyway, in NTV Business Tonight, we find out whether we can stay our focus on marketing mountain gorillas or whether the strategy will change in future. Stay here. We'll bring you all that in our business bulletin tonight.
On the first list, they want their road. The second one, they want the district. The third one, they want land, so that the people can live. In the budget, I am no way. I have to go back and say NRM has performed. NRM has performed. It is clear I don't want to be a liar.
This is NTV.
Nangirira omwaka gwa Mukama ogw'okuganja akkiriza okuzimba ku nnyumba kale muguno ozimba.
Our star today is Pastor Wilson Bugambe, who grew up in some of the worst conditions a person can go through. During his early years, the young Bugambe lived through unfortunate trials and temptations. This include the loss of his two parents, death of his siblings, and untold suffering for over 4 years as a street child. After the death of his parents and siblings, Bugambe faced life all alone. He was mistreated by those that had earlier on promised to help him, with no shoes, one yellow shirt, and
Good evening, Malcolm Seaman. You're welcome to NTV Business. And first, after criticism by the president that Uganda's tourism sector managers were putting too much focus on mountain gorilla while marketing the country, is the strategy likely to change? According to the Minister for Tourism, Ephraim Kamuntu, the market demands will determine if the strategy changes or not. He was officiating at the opening of a new Batwa Trail in Mugahinga National Park. Samuel Setumba reports.
Imagine entering a dark cave, and then there's sounds emerging out of this initially mystic cave. This is the Batwa Cave in the Mugahinga National Park, in the shadows of the Mahavura Mountain in Kisoro district. This was the climax of the launch of the new 5-kilometer Batwa Trail in the Mugahinga National Park. On the sidelines, we asked the tourism minister if the strategy for marketing tourism will change following the president's criticism that the gorilla was being marketed a little too much.
Gorillas are very unique to Uganda. Uganda has more than 54% of the entire total population of gorillas in the world. We do marketing. What the client wants is what you provide.
In effect, the strategy will not change. The new Batwa Trail was funded by the United States Agency for International Development, which promised to increase funding to tourism from $3 million to $20 million in the next 5 years.
We don't want only to talk about the gorilla. We have decided to do diversification of activity options in this park. Batwa Trail, which we have added today, is actually one of those areas where we are diversifying the tourism activity options.
Then there was the recent creation of the Presidential Initiative on Tourism, against which industry players wonder if it will not undermine bodies like UTB or UWA.
What we need is just simply harmonize so that we don't duplicate efforts by doing this. What what would be done, and that we are going to do.
Evidently, much effort has been put to diversify the menu that tourism offers, including such special products like cultural tourism of the Batwa. For the first time, tourism appears to be starting to get some serious attention from government. May everything said be done. Samuel Setumba, NTV, in Bugambe National Park, Kisoro District.
Now, Stanbic Bank for the third trading day remains the cheapest stock on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Details, the shares and money markets coming up in the following financial report. From the Muslim fraternity.
And as I said, that we have been facing some challenges previously, especially about funding some of our activities.
We are very blessed that Uganda is the first country in East Africa where we are collaborating on the Hajj mission, which will now spread.
That winds up NTV Business for tonight, and thank you for watching. I'll be taking you back to Gabriel and Faith.
Thank you, Malcolm, and have a good night.
Good.
Now, Joe Kamadi joins us to take us through sports.
Thank you very much, Faith. Thank you, Gabriel. Hope you had a fabulous weekend.
Oh, it was very awesome.
Fantastic. Now, tonight in sport, the Uganda Cranes have been crowned the Uganda Sports Press Association winners for the month of June. I'll be telling you how they did it in NTV Sport up next.
This is NTV.
Bakuma muliro nenzikiza omuliro bayimba ebitaliyo ninyimba ebiriyo bwekubakuba munene nse munene asingayo.
Jose Chameleon, whose real names are Joseph Mayanja, is one of Uganda's all-time major artists. His music is enjoyed by people of all ages. People who don't understand the meaning of the words in his songs tend to know most, if not all, of the lyrics. Chameleon went to Nakasero Primary School in Kampala and then headed on to Kawempe Muslim School for his O-level and later finished at Progressive Secondary School. He started his road to fame while in Kawempe. It all started when he entered a Write the School Anthem competition, which he immediately won. Chameleon's talent was then recognized, and he soon started singing and performing in small local clubs as an MC. He regularly sang some of his own songs, but they were never properly recognized because they were not recorded yet. Because Chameleon was a good MC, he proceeded to Burundi, where he was on high demand. He then decided to come back to his home country, Uganda, so he could follow up on his dream and start his career as a musician.
I know you want me. You look Chameleon, not disarm me. With him again, you'll never desert me. From Asmala to Kampala, never forget me.
Upon arrival in Uganda, Chameleon started working with Shanks VVD. They recorded a song together called Forgive and Forget. Shanks VVD later left for Rwanda, and Chameleon was left alone to decide his fate. He decided to seek bigger studios in Nairobi with the famous Ogopa DJs. While in Nairobi, he linked up with Bebe Cool and Wetson and came up with Mikono Juu, which became a #1 hit single on East Africa FM. He later wrote Bagaya and recorded it with Wetson. This is the song that made Chameleon big in Nairobi. It became #1 and was played on all radio stations and in all discos and nightclubs.
NTV Sports with Guinness.
Good evening, I am Joel Kamadi and welcome to NTV Sport. Now, the Uganda Cranes have been crowned the Uganda Sports Press Association winners for the month of June, following 2 draws with Angola and a 4-0 comprehensive thrashing of Congo-Brazzaville at Nambole. Cranes' performance in the month of June saw them move strides above expectations to book themselves a place in the AFCON 2013 draws. Cranes won the vote with 545 points over lone tennis star David Oringa, who came second with 475, while Express FC came third with 455 points. David Oringa won the 2012 Uganda Open Tennis Championships, defeating Rwanda's Matthews Uwiyezimana 7-5, 6-4 in the men's singles final in Kampala. Express FC won the Uganda Super League for the first time since 1996. Yaya Lutimba scored a title-winning brace in the 2-1 win in their last game against Bidco to lift the trophy for the first time in 16 years. Others on the commendation list were the volleyball team Nimo Stars, who won the Aporu Okol International Memorial Volleyball Championships and the Kumba Open in a space of 2 weeks in June. Athlete Benjamin Kiplagat was also in contention for fetching a bronze medal in 3000 steeplechase at the Africa Athletics Championships in Benin.
The day of the game is when USPA turns out to be too big.
As USPA and as the ballots showed, the members chose Cranes on the basis of the wonderful result against Congo-Brazzaville, where they scored 4 goals past a decent Congo-Brazzaville side at Nambole. It wasn't easy. They had to overturn a 3-1 deficit, and they did it in the most dominant fashion possible.
Now, meanwhile, police in Mityana have battled with angry soccer fans who were throwing stones onto the pitch following a Masaza Cup tie between Singo and Bulemezi counties. The fans were targeting referee Manusulu Sali, whom they accused of biased officiation.
Soccer fans in Mityana engaged the police in a running battle that lasted over 15 minutes during a Masaza Cup match. Singo County were drawing against visiting Bulemezi County when angry fans accused the referee of prolonging the game beyond the 90 minutes. The fans pelted referee Mansour Sari with stones before the police started firing tear gas and shooting in the air. Singo had taken the lead through a 43rd-minute penalty before Bulemezi equalized in the dying minutes of the game.
Now, Ayod under-17 team from Chotera has won the Buganda Region Airtel Rising Stars Championship after beating Masaka Secondary School by 3 goals to 1. 12 boys and 3 girl teams took part in the two-day event held in Masaka.
Airtel Rising Stars.
Buganda Region has selected a group of 17 youngsters to form the regional team that will participate in the Airtel Rising Stars National Soccer Final due at the Njeru Technical Center this August. This after Ayodi football team from Chotera won the boys' final of the regional championship held in Masaka. The champions beat Masaka Secondary School by 3 goals to 1. In the girls' final, Masaka Secondary School beat St. Juliana from Gayaza by 3 goals to 0 to lift the trophy. 12 teams from all over the Buganda region took part in the 2 days championship.
Airtel Rising Stars. one of Africa's greatest football tournaments has returned. If you're out there, we'll find you.
And finally on NTV Sport tonight and on the international scene, defending champion Spain claimed a historic third successive major international trophy with a 4-0 rout of Italy in the Euro 2012 final in Kiev yesterday. And in athletics, Usain Bolt was beaten by Johan Blake in the 200 meters final at the Jamaican Olympic trials, as he recorded, which the record holder's second loss to his rival in 48 hours. All the details coming up in our international sports wrap. Suggestion that they have turned into something more negative. Spain responded by making history with the highest winning margin in a European Championship final. Xavi's club teammate Andres Iniesta threaded a perfect pass through for Cesc Fabregas to cross for David Silva to head home on 14 minutes.
Into the net, they have the goal, and it is headed in as well by David Silva.
Spain went further ahead just before halftime, and the goal was typical of their all-round teamwork.
Bursting run made forward, and this could be number 2. What a goal! A sensational first goal for his country from Jordi Alba.
Against a tiring team with only 10 men, Spain eventually took full advantage after the introduction of Chelsea's Torres. Xavi found him with another superb pass, and he slotted home the third on 84 minutes, becoming the first man to score in 2 successive European Championship finals.
Spain are the first country to retain the Euro.
Torres then cleverly set up his club teammate Mata to score with virtually his first touch of the ball.
Torres for 4, tucked in. Goal number 4 is from Mata, who has been on the field for about 60 seconds.
It left Casillas to lift the trophy in the magnificent Olympic Stadium, the Real Madrid goalkeeper reveling in yet another showpiece triumph for a team many are calling the greatest in history. Elsewhere, Usain Bolt was beaten for the second time in 3 days by training partner Johan Blake, this time surrendering his supremacy in the 200 meters. The Jamaican world record holder and Olympic champion was edged out by his rival in their nation's trials for this summer's games in London. Blake came home in 19.8, 0.03 seconds ahead of Bolt. In a result that can no longer be considered a surprise, Blake started edging into the lead near the turn, then burst past Bolt for the narrow victory.
Are you ready to drink at the table of men?
And that winds up NTV Sport for tonight. Back to you, Faith and Gabriel. What did you think about yesterday's match?
Well, very humiliating for Italy, I must say, who I thought were going to win the 2012 edition of the European Cup.
Actually, someone said that there was no way Italy was going to win because 70% of the team is actually a full Barcelona squad. So really, it
was Barcelona play for most of the game, I must say, and very, very good football from Spain.
That's it, Faith.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Joel. Well, let's now have a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Okay, let's now take you back to tonight's NTV poll, and we asked you, do you think the ICC's involvement in Uganda over the last 10 years has had an impact? Well, the final poll result for tonight is out. 31% of you are saying yes, while 69% of our respondents tonight disagree.
Well, thank you so much for all your comments tonight. Let's now sample some of them.
Okay, Okumu Emmanuel Dell, you have a very interesting one. You say no impact. The LRA are in Central African Republic, not Uganda anymore, so let them stop swaggering around our airports and posh hotels, the ICC should go look for Kony where he is.
And Jen Gubare from Shema here says, yes, we have seen Kony run away, and some of the leaders are very cautious of their actions lest they become ICC material. Okay, Apollo Tumwesije, you say the International Criminal Court has tried its best, but our leaders are non-committal and uncooperative. And Kamugisha Benjamin from Bukwo district says no, because current government is still mistreating the opposition. Thank you so much for all of your responses. We will be back with yet another poll question for tonight, so be sure to participate then. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching NTV Tonight. I am Gabriel Apeno. And I'm Faith Ariho. Good night. Bye-bye.
Coming up.